All right, let's talk about a core part of English grammar, something we all use every single day: comparatives and superlatives. Now, I know grammar can sound a little intimidating, but trust me, this is way simpler than you think. We're going to get this down in just a few minutes. Let's jump right in. So, right off the bat, I've got a question for you. By the time we're done here, you're not only going to know the answer to this, but you'll get the simple logic behind why good, better, and best are so different in the first place. Okay, first things first. Let's start with the most basic kind of comparison you can make, pitting just two things against each other, head to head. So, the fancy term for this is a comparative adjective. But really, the name tells you everything you need to know. Its whole job is to compare the differences between two and only two things. Picture this. You're looking at a house. It's a big house. Simple enough. But then you glance at the one next door and you realize, that one is bigger. That's it. That's a comparative. We're just focused on those two houses, nothing else. See? Easy. Okay, but what happens when you're looking at a whole bunch of things? How do you single out the one that's at the absolute top of the heap or, at the very bottom? Well, for that, you need a different tool, the superlative adjective. Just think of the word super. It's for finding the one thing that's at the absolute extreme of equality in a group of three or more. The tallest person in the class, the fastest car on the lot. You get the idea. It's the ultimate. Let's go back to our houses for a second. Now imagine you're not just looking at two, you're looking at the entire street. One house isn't just big or even bigger than its neighbor. No, it is, without a doubt, the biggest house on the whole block. That's your superlative. So here it is, the core idea in a nutshell. If you're comparing just two things, you use a comparative, like smaller. If you've got three or more in the mix, you need a superlative to find the one at the very end of the line, like smallest. That's it. That's the fundamental difference right there. All right, so now we know what they are, but how do we actually make these words? Let's start with the easiest and most common rule out there. For most short, one-syllable words, this is just so simple. You just tack on the end for the comparative and est for the superlative. So big becomes bigger and biggest. Small becomes smaller and smallest. It really is that straightforward. But what about longer words? I mean, you can't just go around adding to everything. It starts to sound a little weird. So let's look at the rule for adjectives that are a bit more of a mouthful. With longer words, and we're usually talking 2 syllables or more, we switch up our strategy. Instead of changing the ending, we just put a helper word out front. We use the word more for comparatives and most for superlatives. I mean, think about it. You would never say beautifuler. It just sounds wrong, doesn't it? You'd say more beautiful. And the same goes for superlatives. It's not difficultest, it's most difficult. It's just a clean, simple rule for all those longer words. And now for the fun part, the rebels, the rule breakers. English is full of them, and we call these guys irregulars. They don't follow any of the patterns we just learned, and, wouldn't you know it, they happen to be some of the most common words we use. These two are the absolute most important ones you need to know, and honestly, you just have to memorize them. Good doesn't become gooder, no way, it completely changes to better and best. And the same thing happens with bad. It morphs into worse and worst. All right, time for a quick pop quiz. Let's see if you've got this. Take a look at this sentence. Yesterday was a bad day, but today is even... What? How would you fill in that blank? Take a second to think about it. And the answer is worse. So why worse and not worst? Well, because we're comparing just two things, yesterday and today. That's a job for the comparative. Now, if we were comparing today to every single day this entire year, then we might call it the worst day. See the difference? Okay, let's boil all of this down to the essentials. One-syllable word, just add or est. 2 or more syllables, use more or most in front of it. And whatever you do, don't forget those 2 big irregulars: good, better, best, and bad, worse, worst. That's pretty much the whole game right there. Let's see this all come together in one sentence. The final exam isn't just being compared to one other test, it's being compared against all the challenges of the whole semester. That's a group of 3 or more, which is exactly why it's not just more difficult, it has to be the most difficult. And I'll leave you with this great old saying that just so happens to be a perfect little grammar lesson. It's a fantastic reminder to always keep improving. I hope this little guide made your understanding of grammar better, and maybe even the best it's ever been. Thanks for tuning in.